Welcome back to Sissy Maya. Make sure to subscribe to our channel to never miss an update. Additionally, consider subscribing to my Patreon to get access to these features, and much more. A Honeybelle girl? Was that just a figure of speech? Or did it mean I was expected to embody the gender-neutral look the job required? I figured I'd be girly enough, especially with the constant use of Honeybelle cosmetics. Naomi co-signed each signature and stamped the final page with a notary seal, then handed me a copy. "Just lovely, Jamie," she said. "Your parents certainly created some confusion naming you James. But with this name change officially on record, no one will question who you are when you answer the phone. A little voice training will help, but I'm sure just being around the girls day after day will soften your tone. Soon, saying Honeybelle, Ms. Cameron's office, Jamie speaking will feel like second nature." "Ah, Naomi, do you think that I began, hesitant. Naomi paused, giving me a penetrating glance before turning away. As she tucked her copies into a folder, she said flatly, "I don't think, Jamie. I know. I'm paid to know things. What I know is what this contract says. Read it yourself tonight." She laid a hand on my arm, a reassurance, I suppose. "Just a couple more things, honey. Tomorrow, we'll begin your body modification regimen, along with your beauty treatments. You'll curve more invitingly in the right places. Men who visit our administrative offices expect to see secretaries and receptionists who are well turned out. Your chest and hips are a little underwhelming at the moment, but we have clinical procedures that can change those proportions quickly." I felt alarmed. "Naomi, listen." She didn't respond, instead continuing with what seemed like a rehearsed speech. Had she mistaken me for a woman the whole time? Had Cameron's makeup and the scrunchie really led her to believe I was female? And Cameron's slacks? My jacket had fallen open, and when I looked down, I saw that the tight cut of the slacks swept across my inner thighs, revealing nothing. No bulge. A woman's V. The lycra panties held everything back so efficiently, leaving nothing visible. And the slacks revealed this shamelessly. If I claimed I was a man now, why would Naomi believe me? She had seen exactly what she expected. Then, she looked back at my face, still displaying that impersonal, cordial demeanor. "If, after your probationary 3 months, you choose to stay, we'll offer you a 5-year contract with an option to renew, provided you agree to undergo more comprehensive reorientation. We'll not only enhance your appearance, but the girls tell me the treatments also boost desire. Our married women have the most satisfied husbands in town, I hear. Those husbands who can't keep up with their wives don't mind if the wives seek attention elsewhere. One woman had 5 men in one evening and felt as regal as a queen the whole time. Her husband needed some attitude adjustment, but eventually, he admitted he was proud of her. You may not be that type of girl, of course. This was more than just makeup and socializing with young women. Had I made a mistake? I found my voice. "What happens if I don't agree to any of this now, Naomi? If I just walk away?" Naomi's reaction was one of shock. "Why, you've signed. You'll be in breach of contract, and out of a highly desirable job, not to mention unemployable anywhere else. Think about the reference we'd have to give you in the National Employment Database. And what about how Cameron would feel? This job was made for you. You can't mean it." I realized Naomi wasn't the right person to speak to. She was too focused on company rules. I smiled reassuringly at her. Cameron would be the one to tell me which rules were non-negotiable and which ones could bend. "Oh, I see. You were just trying to shake me up a bit. Well, you certainly succeeded. I'd better let you get to where Cameron needs you. Just one more thing." She glanced at my inner thighs again before standing up to walk me to the door. I followed her. "We have a strict dress code here, honey. No more slacks during working hours, not even slacks as stylish and flattering as the ones you're wearing. No exposed thighs or rounded backsides, though I must say, yours are quite flattering. Skirts, blouses, and dresses only. If you prefer a low neckline, Keep it subtle, just a hint of cleavage. All of this is in the handbook, so make sure to read it. Your new office is on the 10th floor, and I'm sure Cameron's waiting for you. Goodbye for now, Jamie, and welcome again to Honeybelle. As I walked toward the elevator, feeling uncertain about my decision and what I should do next, she came running after me. Honey, you forgot your purse, she called out. She handed it to me with a sly grin, as if she'd just pulled off a big win. You'll love it here, she said. Whatever you're thinking now, in 3 months, you won't want things any other way. Trust me, no one ever does. Her words were both reassuring and disheartening at the same time. But I had already decided to go with the flow and see where this would take me. When the elevator doors opened on the 10th floor and I stepped out, Cameron was waiting for me in the lobby. Cameron, I began, eager to clear up any misunderstandings right away. In this building, I'm Ms. Cameron to you, Jamie. Never forget that. Now, may I see your copy of the contract you signed? She extended her hand. Yes, of course. I handed it over, feeling subdued. She briefly glanced at it, then looked back at me. Let's be clear about something. Here are all the standard clauses for our female employees, and you signed every one of them, Jamie. Did you think we were just playing around? We manufacture and market beauty products. This contract says you've agreed to model those products for us while you're here. It grants our beauty consultants and medical staff full authority to transform you into the most attractive woman they can make you. Here and here. And Jamie is now your legal name. Here's where James signed it over. Goodbye, James. Now, what else? Tomorrow, a complete makeover. The salon will align your appearance with our spring cosmetics campaign. The motto is no girl can ever be too blonde. Also, you'll start your 3-month hormone regimen for skin tone, body reshaping, and chest enhancement. Voice training too, you'll learn to sound as if you're in heat, like our junior staff. And a full range of other procedures to help you fit in with the girls in the typing pool, so they'll see you as one of them. We have 2 types of makeovers, adaptive for employees who just want to work here, and intensive for those aiming for a long-term career. With intensive, many changes are permanent. Guess which one you chose? Were you eager to look like a starlet, Jamie? Didn't negotiate any of these terms? I see you agreed to the full package. Cameron. She shot me a glare. Ms. Cameron, I thought Naomi knew what was appropriate. You spoke to her about what would work for me and what wouldn't, right? I thought she understood I was a man, but it got confusing. When I signed, it became clear she assumed I was a woman and was being hired as one. Exactly. When you signed, that's what you became. And that's what you'll be for the next 3 months, Jamie. And by the end of those 3 months, you'll certainly be fully transformed. Did Naomi happen to mention what happens if you try to break this contract? She said I'd become unemployable. Correct. Anywhere in America or Europe, Honeybelle has branches everywhere, and we belong to several consortia that track unreliable employees. Not that anyone ever wants to leave us for another job. And we don't want them to, if only to keep our trade secrets safe. What do you think the girls usually do when they finish their probationary 3 months? I don't know. She seemed annoyed, but I couldn't tell. My dear, you don't know? They always sign up again, always, for the full 5 years. And management never has to push them. Everyone loves it here. We encourage them to provide each other with all kinds of personal and social rewards. I see you're committed to spending hours every week with women at your level. Well, you'll love it. Sweetheart, I know you still have a man's, well, balls, but I saw them this morning, didn't I? You can kiss them goodbye. From now on, they'll just get in the way. She paused, and I could hear the amusement in her voice. I see you've even signed up for the optional weekend retreat on how to attract men, she noted. That'll be fun for you. From what the girls say, the field trips are unforgettable. Ms. Cameron, please, I was panicking. What had I done? How could I get out of this? Finally, she seemed to take pity on me. All right, Jamie, We'll talk about all this tonight, she said. Maybe you didn't fully understand some things. Go ahead and settle in at your desk, look over Rosamond's notes for her successor, and see if you can prepare my schedule for the rest of today and all of tomorrow. You'll be getting your first beauty and clinic treatments tomorrow. Tomorrow evening, I'll take you shopping, because believe me, after tomorrow, there will be no mistaking what you've become, and you'll need a whole new wardrobe. Then, when the 3 months are up, you'll have a whole new figure. She turned on her heel and walked back into her office, her stride purposeful and commanding. In that moment, she felt farther away than ever, completely out of reach. Just as I sat down, the phone rang. I picked it up, trying to remember what to say. Honeybelle, Ms. Cameron's office, I said, almost dejected. Then I added, Jamie speaking. Hello, Jamie, it's Naomi. Is Cameron available? Your voice already sounds much better, dear. I'm sure you'll feel comfortable with everything soon. Just a moment, I said, quickly finding the buzzer on the phone and pressing it. As soon as I heard Cameron pick up, I searched for a way to cut off the call so I could hang up without anyone noticing. I couldn't find it, and meanwhile, they continued talking. Cameron, I'm sure you know, he bought the whole package. Just as you hoped. He must have thought it would be rude to interrupt me with questions when he wasn't sure what I was arranging. Isn't that wonderful? Yes, he's so trusting. So tomorrow we'll finish the transformation, and that will be that. No more potential issues with David. Imagine if David found out I'd been living with another man since we got engaged, and he went off to Europe. He'd have killed Jamie and ended things without saying another word. He'd never believe I kept Jamie as my housekeeper and personal maid, nothing more. He was too sweet and docile, so eager and convenient to turn away. Who would believe such a man exists? Naomi commented. Well, by the time David returns, he won't even consider the possibility. He won't think the girl who looks after my place was once a real man. If Jamie ever really was a man. So I'm safe, and Jamie's safe too. And now, Jamie has a job to keep him busy when David gets back and we get married. And, honestly, I think being a girl is a better life for him. It's perfect. But here he is, still worried about compromising his masculinity. It's kind of sweet. Maybe so, Cameron. I must admit, he's more suitable than that last boyfriend you dropped, Bob or Barbie, whatever his name is now, the one who ended up with huge breasts and married a gay accountant on the West Coast. This one looks girly already, and the salon and clinic haven't even started on him. Yes, it worked with Bob, so I don't see why it wouldn't work with Jamie. He's such a dear. Or she is now. Jamie will make a lovely girl. I owe you one, Naomi. Well, I owe you two, Cameron. Management's been pushing me to hire a computer techie that the girls can feel comfortable with, and there are so few women in the field. This arrangement is perfect. Plus, they've been encouraging us to target the transgender market. Every bit of market share counts, and this is a start. Your Jamie could end up as the face of a new product line if she comes out of the salon tomorrow looking the way I expect. Maybe. I hope so. So tell me more about David. He's due back soon. In just a few weeks. Just enough time to get Jamie past the point where David might worry. The wedding won't happen for a few months after our new house is ready and fully furnished. I'll keep Jamie with me until then settle her into her own apartment and out of my life. She's always been devoted to me, the poor dear. I can't fault her for that. So I guess I owe her. That's why I liked your idea, putting her in with the other girls until after I'm married. I don't want her pining or causing trouble, or getting jealous of David. It's just easier this way. No, the girls will keep him busy. He's always been so agreeable, he'll never question them. They'll keep him in line. I should feel bad for what we're doing to him, but he was so insistent on moving in with me. He provided such great maid service. But David would never understand, and when David gets jealous, he can be physical. What would he do to Jamie? This way, Jamie's much safer. True. And his out of your hair, unlikely to cause problems when David comes back into your life. You're his boss, what can he say? And some of the girls in the typing pool can be quite adventurous. While Jamie teaches them about computers, they'll teach him about themselves. I'm sure he'll soon be getting all the female attention he could ever want. Eating all the female attention he'll ever want, once the clinic's hormones kick in and his male parts go limp, Cameron said. Soon enough. Yes. Then getting all the male organ he'll ever want too as the girls introduce him to their favorite men. That'll more than make up for the loss of his own. Chances are when your Jamie's 3-month probation ends, she'll want her own female organ. I've seen it before. Who wouldn't? Didn't your friend Bob? I seem to recall she was fully equipped by the time she became Barbie and transferred to the West Coast office and finally got married. Bob, yes. He didn't become Barbie until his chests came in and he was forced to rethink things. Yes, he got himself reassigned while he was still here. Once he learned how to attract men, he wanted a female organ, and once he had a female organ and got himself laid a few times, there was no stopping him. Oh yes, I remember now how I changed all his personnel records so no one on the West Coast would know. You did, Naomi. And while we're on the topic, you made Bob's transition a lot easier than Jeff's, as I recall. Naomi chuckled. Yes, I was a little hard on Jeff maybe. But he deserved it. He wouldn't give me that divorce. Naomi, he didn't know you were a lesbian. He thought you were sleeping around with other men. I kept telling you, men feel threatened when their wives pleasure other men. They get furious. No wonder he went crazy when you told him he didn't measure up. Cameron, he got so violent I had to sedate him. Yes, I remember. But then while he was sedated you didn't have to pump up his chests and push him through the clinic as a special project, so when he woke up all he saw was a female organ where his male parts had been. Talk about the tantrum he threw then. I had to protect myself, Naomi said a little truculently. Big mistake. I warned you. You had to keep him incommunicado till he calmed down, tied to his bed in that brothel where you sent him, in the middle of nowhere. Not nowhere. Mexico. Yes. Then a month or so later, when he was healed but still weak from all that inactivity, you took the madam's advice and brought in 3 different hunks on 3 successive nights, and they each taught him how to appreciate men with his mouth and his chest and his female organ and his ass and with both hands. And that finally calmed him down. After that he couldn't sign the divorce papers to be rid of you fast enough. That's right. I did him a favor. I hear he still can't get enough male organ. Some girls are like Thatho knew he was one of those. But we should be careful, Cameron. Jamie may be listening. What difference would that make now? She's under contract. And if she ever hints to David that she isn't a girl, he'll kill her. She has to be a girl now. We've both done her a favor, really. Are you listening, Jamie honey? I found the switch, flicked it, and hung up. And did some thinking. I couldn't blame Cameron. I'd foisted myself on her, I guess, and she didn't have the heart to turn me down, nor to turn down all of my unpaid domestic help. And Naomi wasn't wrong either. I could run or stay. I had to decide, should I make myself permanently unemployable, change my identity, and leave town, or should I stay with the present arrangement, change my identity, and go with the flow? There wasn't much to decide, as I saw it. That night I said nothing to Cameron, and the next morning I reported to the Honeybelle salon and emerged that afternoon golden blonde and curly-headed, altogether altered, a true Honeybelle girl, they said. Then I went to the clinic and they shot me full of stuff that made me feel woozy and mellow and horny all at once. When I recovered but was still all silly and giggly, one of the nurses brought me down to the typing pool and introduced me around. I fit right in. That evening I had a marvelous time shopping with Cameron, still giggly, buying all sorts of lovely things. Over the next several months, I got to be very popular. My morning sickness didn't last long, only about 2 weeks, no problem. I did Cameron's typing and filing, and kept her appointments, and I taught the girls all sorts of shortcuts helpful to their work. David returned from wherever he'd been and Cameron began to spend all her free time with him. But by then it didn't bother me. Some of the girls knew I'd once been a man, and they took me home while I could still get excited down there. "You're my lovely warm dildo," one of them said to me, with no long-term complications to worry about. Some of the others never did catch on, but when one ordered me to suck and lick her while she sat at her desk, because I seemed submissive enough, others did too. Meanwhile, my pointers puffed up and my male organs softened, and my first chest-stroking sessions with other girls were incredible. The second month Cameron told David the truth about me, but by then he was only amused. He brought his friend Marty over when he came calling on Cameron, a gay friend as it turned out, and I sucked Marty's male organ while he licked my limp clit and then fitted himself into my asshole, my very first real male organ. I'd thought it'd be disgusting, but I was wrong. His tube felt like satin. When I slid my lips or my bottom up and down on it, I could hear him groan up top. It was fun. It was nice. I liked it. Around then I began wondering what it would be like to have a more usual place to receive men. Then my 3rd month's training included a weekend retreat where a Honeybelle advisor taught me feminine whiles useful for attracting men. During those 3 days I got to suck a good half-dozen male organs, and while I was away Cameron and David moved into their new place. When I returned from the retreat I was a different girl. I went directly into my own place, my downtown bedsitter, and I didn't give Cameron another thought. She was now Ms. Cameron to me, my boss at work, and that was all. I finished that 3rd month recovering from my operation and looking forward to a whole 3 months of paid leave to get accustomed to my new female organ before my new 5-year contract with Honeybelle took effect. Now that I was working as a woman and living as a woman and enjoying the fun of being a woman, I figured why not? Be a woman all the way, go with the flow, follow the course of least resistance. It wasn't as if anyone would ever again think I was anything other than a woman. And I don't mind, not at all. Why should I? I have many girlfriends, and a few guys too who want to keep me happy. One in particular. Whenever I can, I schedule Ms. Cameron out of town on business trips, and whenever that happens her husband David stops by my flat to impress upon me again and again how I never stood a chance, how I was never any real competition for him, why Cameron could never think of me as anything other than a convenient housekeeper. I'd never been a real man. But there's no doubt David's a real man. He feels so good inside me, and he's so forceful, so persuasive. And now I don't know what to do. He's urging me to leave my little apartment and come live with him and Cameron in their new house as their housekeeper. You could keep your job and your friends, would make allowance for that, and your maid's room would be much bigger than this one for entertaining them, he tells me as he pumps himself deeper into me, gazing into my eyes. It'd be a lot more convenient for me. For you too, even for Cameron. She hates picking up after me, and she isn't much of a cook. I just might. The problem is, Cameron knows that David's seeing me when she's away. She put him up to it in fact. She knows how nowadays I look forward to his visits. That's the incentive she's counting on. If I come live in their house as their maid, she says, it'd be like when I was living with her as her housekeeper, so there'd be no need for her to pay me anything. Of course I'd get an allowance for the maids' uniforms I'd wear when they entertain their friends, things like that. But otherwise, she says, I should hold in mind that I'm saving on rent and food, and getting from David what I'd hoped to get from her but never did. Except in a sense. So I don't know. I'll ask the other girls what they think.